Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy T for 365 Horror, and this is a horror movie discovery channel. I am just here to put as many horror movies on your watch list as possible. And in today's video, we are going to be looking at 8 brand new releases for you guys to watch and stream today. So let's get into it right now. Now we are going to get into the video, but before we do, I've got to remind you guys to please like and subscribe if you like this content. Also, this video is best watched with a movie tracker. I like to use Letterboxd. It's just the easiest way to keep track of the movies that you've seen and want to see. I also want to touch on the availability of these titles, as I have personally went to each one of the services and made sure that these titles are available. And if you are having trouble seeing them, there is probably one of 2 reasons. The first one, you might be region locked. And the second reason is that if you are using any of the alternative media sites or any of the free stuff, sometimes these movies just came out yesterday, so they really don't show up on those sites for a couple days. And lastly, this is just a preview. These are not reviews and recommendations. As always, I've included chapters and timestamps in the description, so if you don't like any of the trailer reactions I do or any of the movies I've picked, you are always free to skip to the next one. And if you did want some reviews and recommendations, then I suggest you watch my Every Movie I Watched in a Month series, my You Should Watch series, or any of my movie list series. This list just contains every movie that released this week, and it's just a little something for the diehards like me that are always looking for something new to watch. And with that, let's get right to some new movies. The first movie we're going to take a look at this week is a comedy horror named The Parenting, and this movie is available on HBO Max.
Sorry, I don't like that word. That's not me.
A couple rents a countryside house for a weekend with their parents and then discovers it's inhabited by a 400-year-old poltergeist. It is directed by Craig Johnson. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Parenting, this looks like a decent, raunchy, haunted house horror. Now, what really struck me off the bat in this one is that this movie just has a star-studded cast. Edie Falco, Brian Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Dean Norris, and Parker Posey are all in this movie, and that is quite a star-studded cast. Now, another plus that I saw in the trailer is I did find some of the humor smirk-worthy, and I did like some of the raunchy jokes, even if they kind of came off unoriginal. Now, I did like the premise of the film, even though a poltergeist isn't exactly groundbreaking, but I did like that it was kind of multiple couples on a retreat, and I just feel like it being a comedy, we could get some really good, hilarious interactions through a good circle of friends vibe. Now, while I did see some creeps and scares in the trailer, I just got the idea that they would be kind of scant, and I just don't think there's going to be a lot of them, so I don't think that this is a movie to throw on if you want to be terrified. Now, The Parenting looks like a pretty good haunted house comedy, and with a strong circle of friends vibe and a very star-studded cast, I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
Those pipes sure are loud.
If those are pipes, the house is about to explode.
Well, I'd like it to be pipes.
Your parents are fucking. Please, God, no.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named Control Freak, and this movie is available on Hulu and Disney+.
What is it? What is that?
A motivational speaker is tormented by an unrelenting itch on the back of her head. It is directed by Shal Nago. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Control Freak, this looks like a pretty good psychological body horror. Now, I only say body horror because I don't think that the character is going to necessarily go under like morphological changes like to their body structure, but I do feel like the constant itch on the back of her head is an integral part of the story. Now, one of the standout things I did find with this trailer is I thought that it had like a really good, clean look, almost Substance-esque. I mean, it's not really on that same vein, but just with the great cinematography, the sound design, and the acting, I really just got like a really high, good quality production value from the trailer. Now, another shining point of the trailer is that I did think the film was going to at least attempt some creeps and scares, because we got some pretty good like visions and glimpses of this pretty kind of crazy monster. So I'm sure that's going to create an element of at least tension. I also like the premise of this type of film, and it's why I think I kind of said Substance-esque, even though these films aren't really the same. But I just like that whole like really successful media personality that is like really cracking and succumbing to the stress, and it's affecting them negatively. And we just usually see like a good kind of character mental breakdown through these kind of high, you know, people in high positions having like such a big fall from grace. Now, Control Freak looks like an interesting movie, and again, I did like kind of the trappings and cinematography and just the whole flow of it, so I think this one's gonna get a regular spot on my watch list.
You gotta see someone about that, really.
Just an itch.
Have you been seeing anything unusual?
The next movie we're going to take a look at is a drama horror mystery named The Redemption of Sin, and this movie is available on Netflix. The twists and turns of Wenning's struggle, a mother who is willing to be haunted and atone for her sins in order to reunite with her lost daughter, Nirmala. It is directed by Josip Anginoan and Amar Haikal. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Redemption of Sin, this looks like a pretty good supernatural thriller horror. Now, I do want to start this trailer reaction off with the caveat that I'm kind of remiss in giving like a really good trailer reaction because I couldn't even find a trailer that had subtitles at all. So I couldn't really follow exactly, you know, kind of, I mean, I know the write-up of the story, but I couldn't follow it correctly. So I'm going to have to just give you kind of my reaction on just what I saw visually. Now, when it comes to the creeps and scares of the film, I did think that The Redemption of Sin actually was, again, going to attempt some pretty good creeps and scares, and we got some pretty good creepy scenes right from the outset. Now, when it came to the gore in the film, again, I don't think that we're going to get a ton of it, but we did see some pretty raw dead bodies. There was some kind of zombified faces. Again, I don't think that there's going to be buckets of gore, but from some of the stuff and the little glimpses that we did see, I think the gore we do get in the film is going to be raw. Now, as for acting and production in this film, the quality definitely feels high, and even though I couldn't understand it because, again, they didn't have subtitles, I just thought that the dialogue was delivered quite well, and it felt grounded and connected, and it wasn't really cheesy at all. Again, it's hard to only speak on the story from the write-up because I couldn't get like this really good sense. Again, sometimes you just get a sense of the story from the dialogue, but I did enjoy the premise, kind of this mother who lost her daughter and was kind of searching for her, and dark secrets are being revealed through this podcaster that's helping her. And I just think it gives good way to have some like decent uncovered mystery and some good character interaction while giving us kind of a deeper story. I also felt that when I read the longer write-up of the film, that's where I kind of got this sense that we were going to get a really good mystery through this kind of missing child scenario. Now, there was only one drawback I could see in this movie, and again, that's only for some, and that is the fact that this is definitely going to be a subtitled film. Because I couldn't even see subtitles on the trailer, it didn't leave me high hopes, so I did jump onto Netflix, and you're definitely getting a subtitled film. Now, The Redemption of Sins does seem like a pretty good movie with some good kind of horror elements in it, so I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
Apalagi yang aku sembunyiin, Tita? Saya itu dosanya banyak.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named Uncontained, and this movie is available on Screenbox, Google Movies, and Prime Video. A mysterious drifter struggles to protect an abandoned boy and his little sister from an infection that turns people into a feral-like state. It is directed by Morley Nelson. So after watching the trailer for Uncontained, this one looks like a little bit of a meh zombie horror. Now, right off the bat, again, just like the last movie, I want to give the caveat that for some reason they kind of stripped the dialogue out of the trailer of this one, and it was just music, so I am going to have to give you guys a limited takeaway on the trailer. Now, when it came to creeps and scares, I don't think that we're going to get much because this is definitely more of kind of a running zombie escape film. So I do think that we might get some good jump scares and some tension, but I don't think that we're going to get much more than that. Now, for the gorehounds, unfortunately, even though this is kind of a feral zombie infected movie, I just didn't really see that much gore. And I mean, but usually these kind of infected zombie horrors do kind of have some pretty savage and brutal violence, so I could see there being a little bit of gore that way. Plus, through the trailer, we just see them holding and like wielding a ton of guns, so I think that this is going to be a horror movie that comes with like a side of action. So the premise on this one actually looks kind of run-of-the-mill, but there's still some pretty good kind of notes that we can hit with a zombie horror. Like there's always really close call chase scenes while zombies walk feet from people hiding. There's kind of the intrigue it builds over like why these zombies are going around or what the characters are trying to do. It's usually accompanied by like some heinous, brutal violence because again, when you get like feral-like creatures, they're just tearing people kind of limb from limb. And you also get the intrigue of any kind of movie that's like zombie infected always ends up having this element of like who's infected. You know, you have these like voracious action scenes only for one character to look down at their arm in the end and see the telltale signs of what will be a zombie change coming. So I mean, if they employ, even though they are usual tropes, if they can effectively employ some of those strategies, it does make for a pretty good zombie film. Now, Uncontained, while it does look okay, it looks very run-of-the-mill, and since I just don't see anything really new or hooking about it, I think this one's going to get a regular to slightly lower spot on my watch list. Next movie we're going to take a look at is a comedy horror thriller named Borderline, and this movie is available on Apple TV.
Please help yourself to champagne and first aid.
A bodyguard protects a pop superstar and her athlete boyfriend from a determined stalker in 1990s Los Angeles. It is directed by Jimmy Warden. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Borderline, this one looks like a decent to good comedy horror. Now, when it comes to the creeps and scares, just from what we see in the trailer, I think this is going to follow more of a traditional kind of comedy horror route, and the most I think we're going to get is some tension. I don't think we're going to get any creeps, but I think we may get some tension from kind of the conflict and escape scenes. As for gore, I think the gorehounds are safe to skip this one because I just didn't really see much gore in the trailer. I also thought that the cast for this one was pretty good. You get Samara Weaving and Ray Nicholson, so you know the production and budget of the film is going to be good. Now, as for the story, when it came to this film, I didn't mind the premise. I know that just a stalker stalking someone is nothing new, but we did get some pretty good, hilarious character interactions, and I think undoubtedly this movie will have some really good wit. Borderline looks like a competent, good comedy horror, and it's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
So by now, the best day of my life, and therefore yours, will be fast approaching. I love you so much, Sophia.
We've been through this before. You don't know Sophia.
Now, I'm a little bit excited to introduce the next movie, as I'm always kind of interested in an inspired by a true story kind of horror. And this is a straight horror movie named The Plastic Men. And this movie is available on YouTube Movies. Vietnam veteran Jonathan Teller, struggling with guilt and delusions, plans suicide. But a chance encounter disrupts his decision as he grapples with reality, leaving his fate uncertain. It is directed by Samuel Gonzalez Jr. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Plastic Men, this one looks like a pretty good kind of psychological trauma style horror. Now, right off the bat, I've got to say that these inspired by a true story movies, they always really hit differently. And even though I know it's just based on a true story, it still kind of hits hard because it just gives the film a small sense of like more realism. And one of my favorite parts of movies like this, especially inspired by true story movies, is usually at the end we're like given some sobering and sometimes shocking white writing at the end of the movie that really gives you some like deep revelations or just kind of like whoa moments at the end. And I like it even in some of these movies where they'll like even show you pictures of the real characters, because after watching them go through so much, I find it just, again, it just hits harder when you see the real people and hear like real elements to their stories. Now, when it came to the creeps and scares of the film, I definitely saw some more chilling imagery, and I did see them attempting some pretty good jump scares. And also, when it came to the gore, I don't think that this movie is going to be a gore fest, but we were kind of treated to some pretty disturbing imagery, including one scene where we see like someone getting their face torn apart. Now, the premise for this one definitely feels chilling, especially because of the subject matter, where you get like, you know, a broken Vietnam vet haunted by visions of, you know, innocents he killed while in the war. And I find him being so tortured over his acts, it just gives us a good kind of descent into madness. I thought The Plastic Men looked like a pretty good film, and it has a chance to kind of give us something really like dark and deep. So I think this one's going to get a regular to just a little bit of a higher priority on my watch list.
I killed that little girl.
Sir, yes, sir!
It wasn't the first time.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named Butcher's Bluff, and this movie is available on Apple TV. A modern slasher in the style of the 1980s. It is directed by William Instone and Matt Rifley. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Butcher's Bluff, this one looks like a decent Circle of Friends slasher. Now, even though my initial impression after watching this trailer was decent, it just feels like a lot of what we've seen before. But on the bright side, we did get some pretty good glimpses of gore, and although the acting wasn't exactly top tier, I did feel that it was competent and good. Now, another thing I like is, especially in slashers, I love it when they give us this good kind of Circle of Friends vibe, because I think we're just going to get a good variety of kills, and the Hogman or the Pigman, he just looked pretty menacing. Or she. Now, as for the premise of the film, I didn't mind it. A bunch of friends kind of going into a backwoods somewhere where they shouldn't go, where the locals are warning them not to go, and then they end up getting picked off one by one. It just felt like because of the friends, it could have a good variety of kills, and it could have some good like, ooh, right in the eye type moments. Now, nothing really got me out of my seat for Butcher's Bluff after watching the trailer, and I do feel like a simple movie like this with so many kind of just like tropey elements, it is really going to hinge on execution, and I just didn't get the feeling that I was going to see some like big-brained high execution like right from the trailer, so I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
28 people have gone missing up there in the past 20 years. No bodies have ever been found. These people believe there's some sort of madman out in those woods.
That sounds scary as hell.
And that's why this is the perfect project.
All right, guys, last movie we're going to take a look at this week is a horror thriller named Candlewood. And this movie's available on YouTube Movies, Google Play, and Apple TV. A mixed family moves from the city to a remote village, buying a house unseen. Unwelcoming locals and a real urban legend threaten their new life as they confront the property's dark history. It is directed by Mike Furman. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Candlewood, this one looks like a pretty good cursed property folk horror. Now, right off the bat, when it came to the creeps and scares, just nothing in the trailer looked really too terrifying to me. Now, I did appreciate the fact that they really did try to kind of deliver us some horror, but I really just didn't see much. Like, we only got a few glimpses, but I do think that we're going to get a great kind of level of escape tension and a few jump scares. Now, that's not to say that Lila Noah, the creature in the movie, didn't have like a kind of pretty good creepy look. I just found that a lot of the scenes where they showed him, I mean, there was a couple scenes where he turned quickly and that was kind of frightening, but some of the stuff where he was running in the background, it just didn't do enough to kind of move the needle. Now, the production of the film feels alright, but just some of the acting felt like just a little bit stilted and wooden to me. And while I liked kind of the setting and where the movie was going, I did think that the overall premise, it just left a little something to be desired. Now again, I like the setting, I just hope that they have a good level of execution, because I felt like the film just had so many tropes, you know, down to the family moving out of the city to find a country life, all the way down to just the local hate where it's like, you shouldn't be up in them hills kind of vibe. I just felt like it all kind of was played out, but again, executed properly, sometimes the classics do well. Now, while Candlewood does look like a pretty good movie that could have some good entertainment and maybe some kind of mystery vibe to it, overall, I don't know why, but the film, it just kind of felt like it was just okay. And if I was to give it a watch, it might just kind of wash over me and underwhelm me. I don't know that for sure, but that's kind of my initial impression I get. So I think this one is just going to get a regular to maybe just a little bit of a lower spot on my watch list.
Hi there. I just wanted to come and welcome you to the neighborhood.
The name is Eli. I'm the property manager for the community.
There's something weird going on.
That's Lil Nona. Her spirit still resides in the mingling waters.
It's just a ghost story. It's meant to scare kids. That's exactly what it did.
The thing about urban legends is that they're not real. They don't exist.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of brand new releases you guys should watch and stream. I hope you like this content, and if you did find a couple of gems for your watch list, please leave me a like and subscribe. Now, if I had to pick a couple of movies this week, the first movie I'm probably going to pick is Control Freak. I just thought that it had a good kind of really clean look. I kind of like the premise. Again, I like successful people kind of cracking under the pressure and these fall from graces. I do spend a lot of my time kind of watching downfall kind of videos and movies. So to see it in a movie does intrigue me, because I don't know, I don't like the downfall, but it is interesting to see kind of the catalysts and decisions as people get more callous with fame and kind of just get weird. And I don't know, it's just a fun kind of devolution of mental to watch. So I think that's going to be my first pick of the week. And the next movie I'm going to pick this week, because it is inspired by a true story and it did have a good creepy look, and that is going to be The Plastic Men. I just like the whole idea of a Vietnam vet who's haunted by visions. I feel like when I was younger, you saw those kind of shell shock stories a lot more. Maybe because there isn't, we still have tons of war, but it doesn't seem as prolific as when I was a kid. Just traumatized veterans was a bigger kind of genre back then. You just saw it a lot. So I am kind of interested to be kicked back to that nostalgic feel. And again, it being inspired by a true story and having some creepy elements, I just feel like we could get something kind of heavy and riveting out of it. And I know I only usually make 2 picks in a week, but I am going to give just a third and a little bit of an honorable mention to the movie Candlewood. Even though this movie doesn't look fully like it's for me, I did, when I was kind of doing my research and reading about it, there was quite a few people that had some good things to say about it, talking about you shouldn't miss it. So maybe there's a good kind of hook in there, or something must happen, because the people who've watched it seem to enjoy it. So I just felt like I should kind of give you that, because even though I wasn't super excited about the movie, I might upgrade it to a regular kind of spot, just because I do listen to and take into account feedback, even though I don't let it be my determining factor for watching a film. Well, guys, that's going to do it for me. I am out of here for real this time, as I have got a ton of movies to watch. If you've made it this far into the video, I appreciate you. Thank you. I hope you guys have been taking care of yourselves, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Look at it. We see it, pal.